This is paradise on earth. The only bad thing is that in the coming years it won't exist anymore. At least not in this way. In fact, not just this place, but all the most majestic places on planet Earth are going to disappear. Or at least not in the way we see them now. They are going to be destroyed and wiped out by a very serious problem we have. Overtourism.
Overtourism is when a tourist attraction receives an excessive number of people. Crowds much larger than what it can reasonably handle. If it's at more than 200% of its capacity, it's already considered overtourism. This overwhelms the basic services of the place, such as water, sewage, electricity, internet, food supply, and housing, making them very inefficient, slow, overloaded, and very expensive for the local residents. It also destroys the natural beauty, which was what made it a desirable place to visit in the first place. Although different ecosystems and types of natural beauty are more fragile and are destroyed more quickly than others, the seriousness of this problem, the speed and impact of the destruction vary from place to place. Overtourism is a phenomenon that exists all over the planet.
It was put on hold briefly during the pandemic, but it's already back to normal and is going to break every record. International travel is back and millions of people around the world are eager to go out and explore. In fact, according to the Airline Association, the expectation is that 4.7 billion people, practically half the population, will board a plane to an international destination.
Just in 2024, this will break all previous records since the number of international travelers and flights has been tracked. And this number will only increase every year.
The most beautiful places on the planet, like this one, will no longer exist.
Not just because of overtourism. Any number of visitors or inhabitants in an area has an impact on the environment. But this increases as more people come. Village, town, city. But in natural areas specifically, how exactly are they destroyed by visitors? Simple: pollution and erosion. More people stepping on corals, sitting on plants, carving their names into the bark, littering, listening to music, smoking, causing fires, going into the water, dirty, urinating with chemicals on their skin from perfumes and sunscreen, parking their cars on top of tree sprouts, taking home bird nests and eggs, using more water for the toilets. Vegetation had to be cleared for the hotels where they stay. Pollution was caused by transporting those materials. And by bringing in supplies, the wildlife was disturbed or driven away, which balances the remaining vegetation, which in turn controls the climate. All of this, even if it can't be seen, causes erosion and deforestation that will change the climate and the rainfall cycle. And that's how the crystal clear waters surrounded by vegetation stop looking beautiful. And of course, the worst cases are in the most visited places.
Most tourists are concentrated in just the 100 most visited places in the world.
If you read reports from airlines, hotel chains, customs, and immigration around the world, you'll see that 80% of all tourists are concentrated in just 10% of the attractions. If travelers chose their destinations evenly, there wouldn't be a problem, but by concentrating so many visits in so few places, it turns into destruction. What?
They're going to be the first to disappear from the list. And once those are gone, people will move on to everything else until we end up destroying the beautiful places on planet Earth. Because that's something we humans are very good at.
It's a cycle that repeats itself. It's very well documented. There are companies dedicated to this. They have a step-by-step written protocol. First, they hire people to choose a rural or untouched area with natural attractions and a cheap area with a corrupt government. Go out into the world to find it for me and send me the report. Once they find them, they send agents to fool the population with promises of economic prosperity through tourism. Whether they do it themselves or hire a trusted local who speaks the language, someone who is one of them to do it. And that's how the new destination opens up. At first, tourists gain cultural enrichment. They explore nature, another culture, and language. And that's how more hotels are developed, the airport is expanded, nightclubs are built, and then come all the powders and pills sold there, and the people selling them fight among themselves. And that essence gets diluted, the place becomes overcrowded, and tourists no longer want to pay the same price to go back. And they go to the next one. Those who do go no longer have a positive experience. The place also saw its infrastructure, environment, economy, culture, and society in general deteriorate. The place gets burned out, investors get their money back and leave in search of the next destination, as if the planet were infinite.
And yes, tourism is very good for many economies. No one is denying that. Let's break it down into three parts: the tourist, the local, and the place itself. If there's over-tourism, all three are destroyed. The tourist doesn't enjoy it, the local has nowhere to live, and the place gets destroyed. None of the three parties involved wins. The tourist, the local, and the place all lose.
And that's why people who live in tourist areas are fed up, tired, frustrated, pushed out of their homes because they can't afford them anymore. Gentrification. And they've reached a point where they say, that's it, no more. In Spain, we saw these protests where locals threw water at tourists while they were having dinner. They were sitting on restaurant terraces when people came and shouted in their faces to get out, go back home. On the streets of Barcelona, Mallorca, and the Canary Islands, where this problem is very visible, many residents were evicted from their homes to make way for tourism. It's common to see signs of these protests in the streets that say, "This used to be my home." In many cases, the locals have become hostile toward tourism.
And this is understandable. Imagine coming to this beach and you want to sit here, lay down your towel to enjoy the view, but you can't because it's packed like this full of people. Well, you just can't enjoy it anymore. But why did over-tourism get so bad? There are several reasons, but I'll share the top three. Number one, flights are now cheaper, including international ones. The purchasing power of the middle class in China and India. There are tens of millions of people who can now travel all over the world. And number three, social media. Look, during the pandemic, most of us lost, but there were a few sectors that gained. One of them was travel influencers on social media. Instagrammers were among the few people who benefited and significantly increased their income during the pandemic. In turn, they created a passion for traveling. Everyone wants to take the photos they took. They want to see the places with their own eyes that they saw on these guys' Instagram accounts.
For example, the Louvre Museum in Paris is planning to move the Mona Lisa, the most famous painting in the world, to another location. With more space and fewer fragile things so tourists don't break them with their selfie sticks. And once they take the selfie, the followers of those who took the photo will also want one, because we are a generation obsessed with selfies in front of anything.
Which has inevitably led to these, the most beautiful places on planet Earth, overflowing with people. And what are we doing to protect these places? How can we prevent over-tourism? And how much time do we have?
There are several things. The first is to limit the number of people who enter per day. One of the first places in the world to set these limits was Yosemite National Park in California. At first, visitors complained that you can't go at the last minute anymore. You can't be spontaneous anymore. You have to plan everything well in advance. But in the long run, more people report a more positive experience in the park with fewer crowds during their visit. And there's also less environmental impact on the park. That's why many national parks in the United States set limits, at least during peak seasons. Additionally, some cities have set an entrance fee. That's right, not a park or a reserve, a city with an entrance fee. Venice is the most famous of them. Let's visualize for a moment. 70 years ago, Venice had 175,000 inhabitants. Many of them got fed up with tourism and left, or they were pushed out by gentrification. Today, there are only 53,000 inhabitants left, and they receive 30 million tourists a year. 30. Many of them arrive on cruise ships. On an average day, about 20 cruise ships dock at the Venice pier. The tourists get off and crowd the whole city all day. They don't pay for a hotel, and since they bring their lunch from the cruise, they don't buy food. So there's very little economic benefit and all the headache for the locals. So they put a fee on cruise ships for docking in Venice, and these clever ones stopped going all the way to the pier. They would just dock near the city, and they would send tourists by boat, and they avoided this fee. So Venice not only set a limit on visitors, they set an entrance fee of €5 per person. And that's cheap. Amsterdam charges you $15 per person. And if you spend the night, hotels charge you 12% of the total cost, like a tax for staying overnight. And this applies from hostels and campsites where you pitch your tent, all the way to luxury hotels. I think if you sleep on the floor in some park, they'll probably charge you too. And this is true in all tourist capitals, Rome, Iceland, Bali, at least during high season. They've started charging an entrance fee. They also plan to reduce the number of hotel rooms being built. The picturesque village of Lofoten in Norway is another example, where tourists outnumber the locals by millions, leaving them with the huge and unfair expense of repairing and maintaining areas they don't even use, like this parking lot for tourists. Why is it paid for with the taxes of those who live here? If it's only for tourists, and so they join hundreds of cities that are going to try out entrance fees and tourist taxes to see if it works for them.
The downside of charging an entrance fee is that the tourists who enter no longer see themselves as just entering a city. They don't see that people actually live here and go about their lives. Instead, it feels like an amusement park to them. Some tourists already lack respect. They don't have respect for the local population. Now imagine if they see themselves as being in an amusement park. They're going to treat the locals as if they were employees. Obviously not everyone, just some, the ones who are really rude. It happens.
This was the main complaint that the Venetians had, under the slogan, "My city is not a museum." Charging a fee is the last step to turning your home into an amusement park. And the worst part is that this fee isn't for prevention or for investing in conservation. It's only to help a little to repair the damage that's already been done. The most effective way to minimize damage is to close the place to tourism. Santorini in Greece, Dubrovnik in Croatia, Yellowstone Park, Machu Picchu. They've all closed to tourists, either partially, temporarily, or permanently. But they've closed. Let's look at the iconic Stonehenge. You can't go in anymore, because the people who went there used to write their names on the stones.
Look, over there where it is, between those two mountains. If you go over there, there's Maya Island. They had to completely close that island, with the Thai Coast Guard patrolling it 24 hours a day, because thousands of people wanted to get in after seeing this movie. The movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, which was filmed on that island. Everyone wanted to go. Social media can ruin things.
A place in Iceland, this canyon, with this name. I don't know how to say it. It became popular after appearing in the music video for the song "I'll Show You" by Justin Bieber. It caused such a huge wave of polluting and destructive visitors that they had to temporarily close it. And not just artists, but a crowd can do it. On Instagram, a trend started of taking pictures lying down in sunflower fields. So many women did this that the price of sunflower seeds went up because of so much destruction and loss. When you travel, you learn a lot about other cultures and economies. It opens your eyes to new experiences, and you create powerful memories for your whole life. Unfortunately, the consequences of this are becoming very expensive to pay for some places, at least considering the number of people they receive. They prefer to close the attraction before losing what made it famous in the first place.
I'm going to upload a photo to my Instagram. Here it is for you, Diego Sol Reina Español, and I'm going to add the tag, Riley Beach, exactly where I am. Well, these people recommend not doing this because it means that everyone gets obsessed about going to that same place. My opinion on this is that it's true, but only for less well-known destinations. Because for a place that's already famous like this one, there are millions of photos and Google search results. One more person doesn't make a difference, but if I go to a new place, I'll just put Thailand. And now if you want to go, well, go explore. After all, that's the purpose of traveling, to explore. Don't go like a sheep, just following others. That should be the rule. Look it up on Google Maps. And if the map tells you how to get there and where to take transportation, then tag it, because it's already too late to keep it a secret or preserve it. But if Google Maps still doesn't tell you how to get there, then whoever wants to go should figure it out themselves.
Without going to extremes, one way to travel and enjoy without contributing to the problem is not to go during peak season. This is very difficult if you have a job where your vacation period is during peak season. But whenever you can, if you can, consider not going during busy times.
When you travel outside of peak season, not only do you enjoy it more yourself, you help the locals, the native population, to serve you better, to have a better time themselves. You're balancing the flow of tourists in a much more manageable way. It's much more enjoyable for everyone. So let's talk numbers. How many people can visit a place without destroying it?
This is called the physical carrying capacity for tourism. The formula tells us that at most, the maximum is 1 tourist per square meter. But in my opinion, this varies a lot depending on the ecosystem, the economy, and the local culture, and the area of the total attraction. So to make it a bit more accurate, let's put it at the point where the local no longer enjoys living there. Then you already have overtourism. Look at this, something I saw in India. There was a religious celebration and a tourist lady walked right through the middle of the parade with a stroller. Even the horses had to stop so they wouldn't hit her.
Don't be that tourist! Don't be that tourist!
And she disrupted the whole parade.
Total lack of respect for these guys' beliefs, not even me. And I'm an atheist. I have more respect for other people's beliefs.
For example here, look. They're standing in the middle of the highway, in the middle of the road. And the traffic has to stop. Look. I mean, they're stopping the traffic.
Ben, look.
Like this. Like those pants, that guy over there. He stops traffic in a country that isn't his own. So his drunk friends can cross, and the Thai people who come tired from work. So what are they doing?
Look, a little over a year ago, I was on the Oregon coast with my kids, and I saw tourists walking in protected areas where the salmon hatch. And they were smoking and throwing cigarette butts at the source of the water locals drink. Then a cabin caught fire, and the firefighters couldn't get there because the tourists were parked where it wasn't allowed. Imagine living there. A very fire-prone area, and you see tourists smoking among the dry leaves. Wouldn't that make you angry?
So, now that I think about it, this has nothing to do with being a good tourist.
But rather being a good person, being a decent human being. Some people blame content creators, digital nomads who make travel videos, that they are also occupying spaces that contribute to gentrification. Yes and no. In sheer numbers, no, because there are very few people in the world who have this privilege. Having enough views and followers so that your income from social media is enough for you to live traveling around the world, who? Very few. There are many who want to be, there are many who claim to be, and there are those who act as if they were. But true digital nomad travelers, there are at most 50,000 in the whole world. This is from all countries and all languages combined. Therefore, for every true digital nomad who arrives at an attraction, there are about 2 million tourists. So their contribution to pollution and everything else is minimal. What they do contribute to is stirring up the crowds and making others want to come to the same already crowded places. They use apps to remove the crowds from the background, and if you look at their photos, they're the only ones there at the entire attraction. And this makes those who aren't traveling feel inferior. By the way, if you're at work right now, you're more important, productive, and necessary than any idiot. No, I won't say the whole word, but it starts with P. You're more important than any idiot on social media, including myself. You're the champion, so keep it up. Well, back to the video. There are a lot of tourists with terrible behavior.
Before traveling internationally,
Be a human being,
human,
decent. Guys, there must be a balance between economic benefit and over-tourism, between enjoying and exploring our planet and protecting it, between comfortable accommodation at night and avoiding gentrification, between visiting new cultures without diluting them. Yes, there is. Some cities have achieved it. If it can be done in one place, it can be done everywhere.
For example, here in this village on Riley Beach, I've been walking for over an hour trying to find a single building that isn't for serving tourism. There isn't any. Maybe at first they were built to house a family and their intention wasn't for them to be tourist spots, but right now, today, there isn't a single one that isn't a business selling to tourists. From the very first street where the village begins, all the way to the last one, they're there to serve the tourists. So if tourists didn't come to this place, this whole village wouldn't have a source of income.
And they would have to go back to agriculture and fishing like they did before tourism, which would actually be pretty cool. It's definitely a healthier lifestyle if by doing this they could have economic prosperity, professional progress, and a decent life in general. But in most of the world, we've already seen that it's not possible. Tourism gives a little more, but at what cost? Remember, if it comes with destruction, then it's not progress.
I say that these guys make more money working in tourism than in agriculture. Why do I say that? If they couldn't make more money from tourism here, people would have already moved to Thailand's many rural areas without tourism. And specifically, what is Thailand doing to preserve its tourist sites?
Thailand is one of the countries that is managing its tourist areas the best, planning more regulations to ensure they last for future generations.
Well, now Mexico, what is Mexico doing to preserve its tourist sites?
Well, Mexico is doing so-so, it's getting there. Some areas are protected, some are somewhat protected, and others are not. Let's hope there's a concrete plan to protect all our attractions throughout the country. And honestly, those YouTubers and Instagrammers who travel around are just parasitic idiots. And I'm included in that. Well, we'll leave that for another video. That's my report for now. May the value be with you. See you next time. Thank you.